I'm here today with Abby, and I'm so excited. We're talking about a topic that I feel like a lot of people really either know a lot about or don't know a lot about. And I'm the person that does not know a lot about this topic. I pretend to because I've been in the field for like 10 years. But this is definitely not my bread and butter, which is why I'm bringing Abby on to kind of share a little bit more about SEL and behavior. So Abby, why don't you go ahead and give us a little introduction of who you are and how long you've been in the field?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me on. I say was, 'cause I'm technically not in the classroom right now, but I was a special ed teacher. I was in there for 10 or 11 years, and then I moved into the role that I'm in now, which is a behavior specialist. And I love it. I'm probably the total opposite. Like I could talk about behavior and SEL all day long. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst. So I just kind of have, my hands, I guess, in a lot of different buckets. Is that the same?
Hmm.
And I could talk about behavior and SEL all day.
Yeah, so let's go right into it. Tell us,
Mhm.
what is social emotional learning and why is it important in our educational settings?
Yeah, so I think that sometimes people have a misunderstanding of what SEL is. If you heard in the media, there is some pushback against it, and really all SEL is it's the education of lifelong skills. It's building these they call them, I guess, soft skills. I don't love that term because I think that they are so important. But there's five main areas talking about self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision making, and
Self-regulation, I don't think you said.
but that one's not right. Oh, it's self management. So let me say that again.
Self-management.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. That's wrong.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So it's education of lifelong skills, and there are five different areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. And those come from an overarching body called CASTLE, and they kind of oversee all things SEL. And SEL really plays into academic performance because it helps kids feel more confident. It helps them with, asking for help, being able to advocate for themselves when they need help, different things like that. And it's research based. There's a lot of research behind it about why it's so good for kids, and we really need it in our schools.
Yeah, I mean, even just the coping mechanisms and the strategies that we need to support our students in learning, I feel like just speaks for itself because if
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm-hmm.
student, if they didn't get their way, yelled and screamed, that would not be manageable for a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So just teaching
Mm-hmm.
them strategies along the way, their self-awareness, their social interactions, all those things, it all
Mm-hmm.
goes into social emotional learning. So thanks for breaking
Yeah.
that down.
And I think too, even kids that wouldn't, be alarmingly need this. So I think about myself. I'm a highly anxious person, and I wasn't diagnosed with anxiety until after college.
Mm,
And I think if I had had some of these skills growing up, how my life would have been maybe a little different.
yeah.
But I was, like your poster child for perfect child for elementary school, like did all the things, raised my hand when I was supposed to, and I had a lot of anxiety. And I think if I had learned some of those skills, that it would have played out a little differently.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's look on the flip side of that coin. Tell us a little bit about like how do we define behavior and like how do
Mhm.
you define behavior? And then what role does that play in a student's academic performance?
Yeah, so I think when we're usually talking about behavior, when we're asking for help, it's when there's problem behavior, right? But I always want to talk that you can track and talk about negative behavior, but you can also talk about positive behavior. And I love taking data on positive behavior too, because it feels better sometimes. So that's just like the flip side of it. And those problem behaviors are going to be different for everyone in every class. Me
Hmm.
as a behavior specialist, I'm going to have a higher tolerance. I think typically special ed teachers, we have a higher tolerance. Whereas if you're a gen ed teacher and you have one kid that's constantly calling out, it's going to drive you bananas and throw off your lesson. So it
Hmm.
depends on your environment and the impact that's having on the learning, the students in there, and the students themselves, obviously.
Yeah. It is really interesting because like I hear you say like we have a higher tolerance. Like a student tapping their pencil like wouldn't alarm me, but like my when I had an administrator come in and observe me at one point, like he was like, "Isn't that really annoying to you?" And I'm like, what? I didn't even
What?
hear you. What are you talking about? He's like, the kid is tapping his pencil the entire lesson. And I was like, oh, he just needs to fidget. And like, that's his coping strategy. Like, I'm good with that. And like, once I explained it, he was like, okay, but he was like, it was really distracting. Does like anybody else get distracted? And I'm like, nobody said anything. So I guess I'll
No.
try to find something quieter for him to tap. Um, but it's funny. Um, so let's talk about the connection to behavior and social emotional learning, because I feel like there is a lot of correlation
Mhm,
with that.
mhm,
And then the
mhm.
mental health piece that comes in a part of it. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about that interconnectedness.
Yeah. So I think so often people look at them as separate buckets and they're really all connected. And I don't want to like scare any teachers because, I hear them say another thing on our plate, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not in any manner thinking, oh, you have to become a social worker on top of this. Really, SEL, I always view it as SEL and mental health. Let's start there. How are they connected?
Hmm.
SEL is the seeds, it's those strategies, and your mental health is the result. So you're not going to go through therapy sessions with the kids in your class. Obviously, we are not qualified for that, and that's
Yeah.
way too much to even expect. We're just giving them the seeds to hopefully give them a better chance at having a more healthy mental health.
Hmm.
And it's really connected with behavior. And so I'm the behavior specialist for my district, and I have an SEL coach. And I'm usually like dispatched for like really high needs, like your tier 3, they're about to be sent out of the district kids. But so often I will loop him in on kids that are kind of middle level to help teach these replacement skills. So that's something
Hmm.
that's huge. I can go in, I can put in a plan, but I don't have the time to teach those replacement skills, which is what where SEL can come in, because
Hmm.
I'm so big about proactive instead of being reactive, because it's just easier and better for everyone, right?
Hmm.
So teaching a lot of those skills ahead of time really help in the long run, and it helps generalize a lot of those better behaviors that you can do. And even like you said, the coping skills. I
Hmm.
always like to say we all have emotions, right? We all
Yeah.
feel similar things. Some of us might feel it a little more, but it's our reaction to them and our coping skills that is different. And when kids are having these major outbursts, they might be feeling frustrated. I feel frustrated every day. I have a toddler. I feel frustrated every day, but I don't have major outbursts, right? I have different coping skills. So giving
Hmm.
them the replacement skills, those coping skills can really help. Um, and then the other part of it that I like to talk about, and I have focused on this a lot in my role, is SEL can help build friendships. So there's a few ways that this kind of ties in. If a kid is engaging in problem behavior to get kids' attention, like the class clown, you can teach relationship skills. If you have kids that are constantly arguing and they are not able to build friendships, and then they're feeling isolated and they're having more problem behaviors, and it's just a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Again, relationship skills can teach so much. If you are also, tired of having kids tattle, 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 another part of SEL, tattling versus reporting.
Yeah, I love that. You're talking a lot about replacement behaviors and coping strategies. What are some of the things that you feel like keep coming up with a lot of our students, maybe in that elementary, middle school kind of age group, that like you feel like might be helpful for somebody else to hear?
Like a coping skill or
Yeah,
something?
just
Or,
any like
yeah,
strategies that you feel like this is a great thing that we could be doing proactively.
yeah, yeah. So I think teaching the coping skills as a whole group is a great way to do it. It does a few things. You can model it, which is huge, and the kids can see you doing it. And I've even stopped lessons and I'm like, I'm getting a little frustrated. There's a lot of talking. I need to take
Hmm.
some breaths. So just modeling that really explicitly. And that's like a tier 1 level, which I don't think that we always think about SEL at tiers, but
Hmm.
you really can, just like behavior, just like academics, just like mental
Yep.
health, all of it can be tiered, which is part of MTSS. And I think that that is so huge. And then having those skills that the kids can just pull from. And also just remembering that coping strategies aren't always taking deep breaths. It can also be lots of different things.
Hmm.
And sometimes taking deep breaths can start to get aversive because you're telling kids to take deep breaths and I don't want to take a deep breath,
Like telling
right?
kids to calm down. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to
It
happen.
becomes kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So I think that just modeling those and doing it proactively for the whole class is something that someone could easily implement starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I know a lot of the things that we do at my school is then when we start noticing some of the maybe signs before a behavior is to come out, that we will proactively say, "Hey, it looks like your body is busy," and try to define it for the student,
Mhm.
or trying to like label it of like, "It seems like your hands are getting tight, your face is turning
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
mad, whatever." Trying to like label it for them and say, "Hey, would you like to take a walk? Go get a drink
Mhm.
of water, need a fidget, take a break." And like sometimes there's a choice board that goes with it, just to kind of give some other options and
Mhm.
opportunities before the situation becomes past the point of no return. And
Mhm.
as we know, students that get escalated sometimes have a hard time listening and hearing what we're actually saying and get really
Mhm.
defensive.
Mhm.
And so trying to model some of that language beforehand of, "I'm noticing you seem to be
Mhm.
looking this way." But I love the like explicit teaching, yes,
Mhm.
in proactive ways when they are in what we call stable functioning. So when they
Mhm.
are like prepared, ready to work, "Hey, why don't you grab a fidget? Let's get proactive here."
Mhm.
And proactive supports, for anybody that just isn't familiar with that terminology, is just something that you're doing before any of these situations may occur.
Mhm. And I think just continuing that, I think I obviously, not obviously, I use a lot of these with my son who's a toddler, so he'll be 3 next week. And something that I realized I was doing, and you kind of, we talked about it, take a deep breath. I don't want to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I noticed that I was only asking him once he had learned those proactively to do them when he was mad or frustrated. So I started expanding it to when he was getting overly excited and
Mhm.
help using it to just calm his body to, again, like you called it, return to stable functioning. Right? Isn't that what you called it?
Yeah.
I call it
Yeah.
baseline. So it's like it's just a
Baseline,
little,
yeah.
yeah.
Ready to
Um,
learn, all those
so
things.
yeah, so just using it like across different feelings is really
Mhm.
important too, so that it
Yeah.
doesn't just again get paired with like being mad.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be paired as a consequence. Like, I'm not asking
Right.
you to take a break every time because I want you to leave the room. Like, no, it seems that you are busy, overwhelmed. It could be maybe not
Mm-hmm.
just, mad or angry, just maybe overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's another good one to label, is that like it seems like you might be overwhelmed right now. There might be a lot going
Mm-hmm.
on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, love all of that. Any other
Mm-hmm.
tips and tricks for SEL or behavior?
Yeah, so I think that something that I always look at when I walk into a classroom, and it's really nice that I get to go see lots of different classrooms. When you're in your classroom all day long, you kind of just um everything becomes kind of background noise, right? So I know I felt so much pressure when I got my first classroom to cover the walls, right? Like it was like, oh my gosh, there's white space, cover it. Oh yeah, I need a poster there. I remember buying posters from the dollar store and just pasting them up. And really, that is, even though it's all good intention, look around your classroom and take some of it down. White space is so much better than having more noise. And
Mhm.
even though it might become background to you, the environment really impacts behavior. So I've gone into so many classrooms where there's like a back table and there's this amount of papers because we all do it, right? We've
Yeah.
all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 100%. But it can become so overwhelming the more clutter it is. And I don't think this really resonated with me until like I worked with different co-teachers, and I would have some that were like super neat, super minimalistic, and I was almost nervous to leave stuff out. And then some that would just had stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And I felt that, and I was like, oh wow, like I feel better when everything is like minimalistic.
Mhm.
Even like things hanging from the ceiling, you're wondering why your kids are distracted. Well, there's super cool things to stare at up there, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think that that's something really ties in both SEL and behavioral, to just really look at the environment and how it is impacting your students.
Yeah, something that I used to do all the time, and I feel like it really did help with a lot of this, was like a tension rod with a like curtain on
Mm-hmm.
it, or a
Mm-hmm.
sheet that is like a simple like knot over it, kind of thing, and nothing crazy. Like, and sometimes
Right.
just like
Right.
blocking off sections of the room, blocking off cabinets, maybe open bookshelves.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've velcroed sheets to the cabinets
Yes.
before just to kind of get the visual distractions out of the way. And I feel like it does make a huge difference because it's like, again, like it's a weird like object permanence of like out of sight, out of mind.
Hmm.
But then
Hmm.
students aren't as tempted to go play with the board games when they're covered up or the books or
Right.
whatever it is. But then also minimizes behaviors too if there is a situation and they're not clearing books off bookshelves because it takes a little bit
Yeah.
harder to get to.
Hmm. Like, what are you most likely to go grab a cookie when it's sitting on the counter, or if it's like tucked away in the back of your cabinet?
Yeah, no,
Right.
exactly.
Like, same thing.
I mean, I could say the same thing about my husband. If I put my snacks in the back of the pantry, he's less likely to find them. So, it's behavior is everything we do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you have any other resources that we could use or any other suggestions for us?
Yeah, so we have been talking so much about coping strategies. I do have a freebie that I want to give to anyone listening.
Great.
And I love making everything visual. So it's just hands on visual breathing cards. And you can just take them. I keep them in a task box. I'm all about task boxes. And you can just keep them in your calm down corner. You can have kids keep them in their desk. Really simple. And if you want to do more SEL in your classroom, I do have task boxes that are aligned to those 5 different competencies.
Awesome.
And you can, again, just grab and go, and they're super fun to use in small group or whole group. And it's just a good place to start because I know that most districts don't have an SEL curriculum like mine.
Yep. Same. I've been calling a bunch of different curriculum companies for SEL resources. So I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I'm on a hunt for it too. If I find something good, I will definitely share with our audience.
Yes,
But I will make sure to leave those links below so that you can find Abby and that freebie and those test boxes. I'll leave the link below for Castle as well. And yeah, thank you so much, Abby, for being here. We really do appreciate it. If there is any question that we missed and you really just want to ask it, go ahead and comment below and we'll make sure to get that answer for you as well. If it's not from me, it'll come from Abby and I will just make sure we get that answer for you. So thanks for being here.
definitely. Thanks for having me.